Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys have had a great weekend. Um, Welcome back. It's Monday. Always not long enough the weekend is. Just want to give everybody a few moments to get into the call here before we get started. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. So, good morning again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Today, we're joined by a special guest from Envestnet, Andrew Brick. Andrew Brick has been working closely with StoneX in preparation to launch this platform that we're going to talk about today, Envestnet Analytics and Insights, which will be known to you as Envestnet Intelligence as you access this platform, which we'll show towards the end of the call. This may be a little bit longer than 30 minutes, so please do ask you to kind of hang on there towards the end as we get deeper into this powerful platform today. This platform will give you guys the ability to access and understand and act on meaningful data that is transforming how advisors across the Envestnet universe are serving their clients and managing their business. So in just a few moments, I'll kick it over to Andrew to give us a very deep and thorough demo on this platform. But before I do that, I do want to cover one project that we are working on today, and that revolves around the proposal system. So Envestnet has asked StoneX to participate in a pilot program that allows custom docs to be added inside the proposal. So if you are using the investment strategy proposal light, this is where Envestnet is making and prioritizing more modern updates to this system. So now think of, hey, can I add my advisor bio or branch overview to my proposal documents? Yes, you can now. So to do that, you'll send your either PDF or photo of your headshot or your branch overview and bio to me, and then we'll get that approved by supervision first before you're able to use it. And then once it's added to your system here on the investment strategy proposal light, it'll be here under additional information, and then you'll select your bio. And then what you see here is we're also going to be adding some custom docs from the home office perspective. So think of our Why Stay Invested presentation that a lot of you ask about. It's like, hey, where can I find this? We normally navigate you to the Advisor Center website to pull that. But if you want to include that in the proposal, that'll be here as well. And to see what that looks like, if I switch over to my tab here, so we can add your branch overview, we can add your bio, and then here's the Why Stay Invested. So all of these things can now be added in the proposal. And then one other thing I want to point out is there's a new module called Investment Overview as well that has more educational documents. Here you can add, hey, which market conditions are for active or passive, challenges of domestic active management, the challenges of factor-based investing, and characteristics of major factors. So this is also a new module located in the investment strategy proposal light. If you have any questions on the custom docs, adding your bio or branch overview, please reach out to me. With that being said, I will pass it back over to Andrew.
Thank you so much, Marcus, and good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. I do not have the sweet setup that Marcus does, looking like he's in a newsroom right there, but you'll have to just deal with the very dark, ominous background here. But really excited to walk through this analytics platform that we recently launched within StoneX to showcase the power of utilizing this tool. And we'll go through a demo access or demo version of the site, but everything that we're going to review today, you'll have the availability to access utilizing your own book of business that's going through Envestnet. That's going to include both managed assets and then accounts that are going through Envestnet's performance reporting. At the end of the call, Marcus is going to showcase how you can access it directly through the Envestnet platform via SSO. But once you click on that, it's going to launch you into this home screen, which is going to give you a 30,000 foot view of your book of business that's flowing through Envestnet. So you'll be able to see total assets, net flows over the trailing 12 months, customer opportunities, or what we call our insights engine. We're going to wrap up today's conversation going through that. You're able to see your proposal pipeline, and then all of these KPIs in terms of how your assets have grown over those trailing 12 months. Where is that exposure in terms of the various different programs that you can leverage, your total flows over those trailing 12 months as well. And then we have some additional widgets. So the number of accounts by firm program, what your proposal activity looks like, what does your flows look like in terms of growth over those various different time periods. And then we give you some flavors of various different benchmarking that we have available and we populate within the site. We sit across the entire Envestnet ecosystem. And when I say Envestnet ecosystem, I'm talking about $6.5 trillion in assets. We're talking 111,000 advisors that utilize Envestnet today. And we can then create comprehensive benchmarking metrics so that you can compare yourselves to other advisors like you. So there's two various different avenues of those benchmarking within the site that we'll review. And again, we'll give you those comprehensive metrics. Now, everything within the site can be customized, everything can be filtered. So a very consistent theme throughout the site is that filtering capability. So if I look at the top right-hand side, that middle button will give me a slide out on the right-hand side where I can then filter by various different date ranges. If I would want to look at the various different enterprise program names, so again, utilizing StoneX's nomenclature, I could select those appropriate ones. If I would want to select a particular client, if I would want to look down at various different products, managers, getting very specific to the various different ticker symbols, I have that filtering capability, which is going to be a consistent theme. So once I click on the ability to apply those filters, everything in the dashboard is going to be based off of those various different selections. Another area that we created were kind of default landing pages. So when you log in the first time, you're going to be defaulted to that advisor desktop, but we have some other pre-canned reports here in terms of advisor scorecard. We have an insights dashboard that we've built out, and we even give you the ability to create what we call build your own dashboard, where I can go in and I can add various different widgets to my specific instance of what is most important to me as a financial advisor. So here you'll have hundreds of data points that I can add, and then it does it in real time. So if you want to take a look at AUM per client, maybe I would want to look at asset growth, maybe I would want to look at fees, performance, etc. Everything gets added in real time. I can then click apply once I have it situated in a way that's applicable to how I would want to view the business. And then I can go up to that particular dashboard, star it out, and then every single time I log in, it's going to default to that specific view. So again, I can really focus on the things that matter most to me. Now, as we go through the tabs here at the top, the information is going to get more granular in nature. So if I click on that practice tab here, now I have a drop down of 5 different areas that I can dig into my book of business. So the first one being assets. Here I'll be brought to this overview page where again, I can see kind of how my book of business has evolved over the trailing 12 months. What does that look like in terms of managed accounts versus brokerage? We can see what the assets by program type are, what are the top 5 in terms of asset allocation, what are the top product managers that I leverage, what are the top 10 holdings. Now you'll notice inside of each one of these widgets 2 things. One, on the bottom left-hand side will let you know that the date was last refreshed. Majority of our site is updated on a weekly cadence as of last Friday's close of business. So the data is going to be very relevant, very much up to date. We also provide you with a see more button on the bottom right-hand side, which will essentially launch you into the data points that are building that bar chart or illustration. So I can either click on that see more button, or if you'll notice here under this kind of beige type of ribbon at the top, you'll notice that there is an assets grid, which will drill you into the same type of level of reporting. So if I click on that assets grid, what it's going to do is drive me to a table that is very much something that I can interact with and I can add or remove specific data points from. This is going to get pretty granular. But when I click on that assets grid, Again, it's going to follow all the filtering options that I've created, but we also give you the ability to click on this groupings tab, which looks like a bunch of icons that are a bunch of books that are stacked on top of one another. And then what it'll do is it'll give you the format in terms of how that report is currently structured. So it goes from top to bottom, following these tiles as like a breadcrumb. So here, Envestnet program, maybe you don't care about that. Let's look at the enterprise program, which again would be StoneX's nomenclature. Maybe I would want to add client name inside of that. And then again, I can rearrange these tiles in a very interactive format. Click apply, and then everything in the table is going to follow those data points from top to bottom. So it'll go enterprise program first, then the clients in said program, down to the security types, down to the product. So again, if you would like to get very analytical in terms of your book of business, easy ways to build and socialize Excel spreadsheets. So once I have that report situated in the functionality or in the format that is applicable to the analysis I'm looking to run, I can then export that to Excel, and then again, it downloads it to a nice CSV format for my consumption. The export functionality, also a very consistent theme throughout the site as well. So you'll notice every grid is going to have the export function. When I'm in any one of these overview pages with all the bar charts, illustrations, I can export that data, and then it downloads it to a nice PDF based off of all of the filtering options that I've enabled for that particular view. Next is our flows tab, and this has two different flavors. So one is going to showcase clients that are driving organic growth in terms of your book of business. The other is going to be taking a look at the various different managers or products that have experienced those inflows and outflows. So in this overview page, again, I can see over the trailing 12 months, what type of months I've experienced a lot of growth in terms of inflows. When I'm experiencing inflows, which programs are those flows going in of? If I'm losing assets, where are those flows moving out of? If you want to track program exchanges, so think of that like an intra account type of flow where maybe it moved from reporting only to managed, or maybe it was a rep SPM portfolio to outsourced. We'll track those program exchanges there as well. And then you can see what clients have experienced the most amount of net inflows, as well as those that have experienced a larger than normal type of outflow. And then I can see number of new clients month over month. When I'm generating new business, what are the average new account sales? And then how does that compare versus the peer average? When we say peer average, we're talking all in of Envestnet. So kind of a first iteration of some of the benchmarking so that you can see kind of how your month over month new account sales compares to other advisors like you. The next grid, and it's one of the most commonly used one, is the one that we call our enterprise grid. And what this is going to do is take a look at your book of business and really give you a download of all of the flow details that are important. So here you can see it by program type, but again, if I want to go in and maybe look at it from a client perspective, maybe I'll drag client first, click apply, and now I have a download of all of the clients in my book of business. And then what types of inflows, outflows, number of new accounts that have been generated. We're giving you a complete picture in terms of this table to give you all of those flow details and then netting out those figures. So net sales, net contributions. One of the updates that we're going to be making here in a couple of weeks is just rather than giving you two different numbers in terms of the net figure in terms of flows, we'll have net total as a default here, which you can add. But then you can see which clients are driving organic growth in terms of your book of business, and which ones maybe need a touch point or potential meeting because maybe they're at potential risk of leaving because you've experienced more outflows than normal with that particular client. Well, like I mentioned, also showcase the manager flows. So you can see over those trailing 12 months, what are the top managers that have experienced those inflows? What are the products? And then we'll give you a manager grid showcasing market value within each of those managers, and then inflows, outflows, net total flows. Next is our accounts tab, which will showcase the number of clients that you have on platform, number of accounts by registration type. And then you can also see your average client age. So we get that number from the custodian, but you can see by those various different age ranges what your overall client base looks like. This one in this demo site just showcases one client at 85 and above, but you'll see many different ranges there. And then what your average account size looks like by these various different household bands. Now, for those that do a lot of split business, we actually have a toggle within this accounts grid. You'll notice on the right-hand side, there's a proportional tab that you can enable, and then we'll, based off of the account ownership, we'll showcase your actual allocated flows and allocated market value for the business that you split with another FA. We'll also showcase proposal generation. So just a great way to track the proposals that you've created, making sure that they're tracking towards the appropriate status towards investment. You can see number of proposals that have been generated. What is the status that they're in over the last 30 days? What is your kind of invested versus proposal amount? And then another area within benchmarking of what your close rate is. So for these household ranges, what is your success in terms of getting a proposal to investment versus your peers? And then we provide you with a proposals grid. This is actually updated every single day. But again, just a great way to make sure that things don't slip through the cracks and that they're going to the correct status to investment. So we're giving you those details as well. Now, the next two areas that I want to really focus on are going to be specific to benchmarking. So what I just shared is kind of overall book of business reporting, very powerful, allows you to get very granular with your data set. The next area is going to compile, again, those $6.5 trillion in assets, the 111,000 advisors that leverage the Envestnet platform today. So the first one is what we call our fee benchmarking tool. This is updated every single quarter because we do billing in a quarterly cadence. And what you'll be able to see is by these various different household ranges, what your average advisory fee is versus other advisors on the Envestnet platform. And this is just a great tool to see, okay, what are industry trends? When I'm opening up new accounts, am I competitive? Am I discounting my practice for the great services that I provide my clients? And I always make the joke, I used to work for another TAMP in the greater Philadelphia area. I generated investment proposals all the time for financial advisors and their clients and prospects. And then in that proposal, there's that small section that said advisory fee. And 99 times out of 100, when I would say to the Mr. and Mrs. Advisor, what do you want to charge on this portfolio? They would look at me and say, Andrew, what are other advisors charging? This is kind of the great secret sauce to make sure that you're competitive, that you understand kind of what those industry averages or industry trends are for those various different household ranges. We'll also showcase it by program type. So whether you outsource, whether you build your own models, you can see again how your fee structure stands up, and then the fee rates by registration type. And then we'll also break it down quarter over quarter so you can kind of see how your fees evolve. For every account that is open in that quarter, you can see kind of what your weighted average is in terms of the advisory fees versus your peers. Now, a couple things that I like to point out with this. One is it defaults to the advisory fee, but we also give you the ability to look at the all-in client fee, which is going to be inclusive of the advisory fee, asset manager fee, platform fee, etc. So if you want to see what the overall client fee experience is, you can select that under fee component. Another area that I like to point out is maybe you don't want to compare versus the entire Envestnet ecosystem. We give you the ability to segment versus other advisors in these same types of segmentation. So maybe I only want to compare myself to other independent broker-dealer advisors. I can then click apply or add that as part of my filtering, fee component client. And then when I click apply, the data set is only going to showcase my fee versus other advisors that would be associated with independent broker dealers. And now I can see, okay, what is my client fee versus my peers? And again, if I want to use this to say, okay, for future business that I bring on for this program type, for this type of household size, maybe I can afford to increase by 10 to 15 basis points to get me more in line with what those averages are. And then if you just want a full data download of all of your clients, you will showcase each one of those that do billing through Envestnet. The my average fee is going to be the fee on that particular investment account. And then the peer average is going to be an apples to apples comparison. So same billable asset range, same program type. So if it's a separate account at $5 million, it's going to take the $5 million accounts across all of Envestnet in just separately managed account to get you that peer average fee rate. So it makes it very much apples to apples and just a great resource to, again, just understand what those industry trends are and then maybe make some changes to the ways that you do billing or charge on your managed accounts. The next area is our performance. So just like we do with billing, we're looking across all of Envestnet for all of the accounts that have 1, 3, 5, as well as year-to-date performance. So whether you're building your own model with advisor model, whether you're outsourcing to fund strategists, utilizing separately managed accounts or UMA, we'll give you a breakdown of what your average performance is versus that peer average. So again, the default is going to be to a 3-year gross of fee, but I could go over to the filtering option, look at 1, 5 year to date. If I would want to look at net of fee performance, I could do that as well. If I only want to compare versus other firm segments, again, maybe I would only look at independent broker dealer. I can then see how my performance stacks up, which is going to be an asset weighted calculation for each one of these programs. And then we'll give you a peer average for a book of business that would look exactly like that. So same AUM to the same program types in the same risk classification. So we're making that an apples to apples comparison. We'll also provide you the number of accounts by the various different risk classifications and what the peer average is across all of Envestnet. Now you'll see here the count of accounts by risk scale and program. Anytime you see a large number in green, that means that that large number of accounts are outperforming in that risk classification or in that program type. So green is obviously good. If you want to be able to see all of your clients and then their average performance versus the peer average, again, when we're looking at this particular account where it's a 35% return over a 3-year period, when we create a peer average, it's going to be for a growth portfolio in that same program type. So let's say this one is advisor's portfolio manager and the same market value. So again, making sure that that is an apples to apples comparison so that you're not comparing an advisor's portfolio manager in conservative to a unified managed account in aggressive growth. Like it's going to be that apples to apples comparison there. Now, what we just reviewed in the first part of today's call is book of business reporting, what has already happened, which is very important to understand. The last part of today's conversation is going to be, okay, well, what do I do with it? Data is great, but unless there's a next best action that's associated with it, it's like, well, okay, I have all this information. Okay, give me something actionable. So that's why we built out what we call our insights engine. So if you'll notice here at the top left-hand side, there's a button for insights. If I click on overview, it's going to give me a complete list of all of the opportunities that are currently populating within my book of business. And it's across a whole number of categories. So some of those categories include just a wealth insight or wealth category that looks at your managed accounts, look at products that are underperforming, clients that haven't made a contribution in the last 12 months. We have insights built on tax management, whether it's simple tax loss harvesting, whether it's adding tax overlay, or at the very end of the year, if there's mutual fund cap gain distributions that are looming on a non-qualified account, lowest of the low hanging fruit. We have some insights built off of the advisor's portfolio manager account, so rep as PM. We have insights built off of brokerage accounts. So brokerage direct to mutual fund that could be better suited for advisory. And we'll go through some of those use cases as well. And then we have some predictive insights that can generate within a certain confidence level that clients have additional assets held away from your purview, or a certain event or activity is about to take place. We're utilizing data science and machine learning to predict those types of opportunities as well. We have about 125 active insights that generate 25 million insights across the Envestnet platform on a daily basis. So again, bubbling those data points to a surface and making them actionable so that you have materials and statistics that you can bring to your next meeting and next client conversation. Your time is valuable. It's best spent in front of your clients rather than going to 8 or 9 different resources trying to figure out what are the proactive talking points that I would want to bring up during that meeting. You can leverage this tool to kind of highlight some of those areas. So here you're able to see your insights by category. Again, wealth, we went over that. Non-managed is going to be those brokerage as well as APM wealth, some tax management. But you can see what are the top insights that are being triggered within your practice. So what are the top insights by rank? What are the trending insights? So what are other advisors acting upon? What are the top client insights in terms of market value? And how I could go into this is a couple of different ways. One, I could click on underperforming products, and then it will give me a complete data download of every client that has what we consider underperforming products. All of our insights are rules driven. So if it meets the threshold or the criteria for that insight to populate, it'll showcase within our tool. I can provide a download of what those definitions are. You can click on this insights definition. It'll give you those parameters. But if I were to go into, client 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they have 5 underperforming products. If I click on any one of those line items, I get a slide out on the right-hand side letting me know what is the account in question, what is the ticker symbol, and what is the overall market value in that position. When we say underperforming products, it's 4th quartile performance in that particular securities style. So if it's a large cap value fund, it's going to compare versus other large cap value funds. And it's 4th quartile performance over a 3-year period based off of Morningstar. So it's in that bottom 25%. Now, we give you a couple of tools as different resources that you can leverage. One is going to be the Client 360. This is, I think, one of my favorite parts of the tool because it's a meeting playbook or game plan. So this is going to appear in every single one of the insights that trigger within the tool. When I click on that, it brings me to a PDF that I can print out. And what it essentially does, it goes through that client's key data. So what is their AUM by the various different accounts that they have on platform, whether they're qualified or non-qualified. I can see AUM flow information. What is the AUM by registration type, by asset class, by product? But then what are all of the opportunities that I could surface with that particular client, or I could recommend a particular solution, program switch, so on and so forth. So remember, I went through all of those categories of, hey, these are all the insights that we've built. If I want one comprehensive list that goes through every single one of those categories, that gives me, hey, here is kind of the cheat sheet of things that you could bring up in that meeting. This is obviously a great resource to use. And this is not something to overwhelm. This is not something to say, okay, I have 20 insights. I need to bring up all these in that next client meeting or next client conversation. But you know your client's the best. If there's maybe 2 or 3 of these that I could leverage as kind of some of those talking points for that meeting that will really resonate with that client, will really deepen that client relationship and provide holistic advice, this is a great, easy way to kind of surface some of those opportunities. Now, everything is interactive within the site. So if I saw that there's underperforming products, maybe this is something that I brought up with the client before, that they don't want to make any changes to it, or it's not something that you would want to act upon, I could select the check marks on the left-hand side, go over to actions, and I can complete or dismiss them out. What's really great is that within this tool, there's complete connectivity within Envestnet. So when you click on any one of these opportunities and that slide out comes on the right-hand side, you'll notice there's a take action button, and it'll say review client, household, holdings, generate a proposal or a goal modification. You can actually launch directly from the analytics instance into the Envestnet platform for you to actually take action on that opportunity. Now, I always like to go over some of the other insights that I think are valuable, and specifically on the non-managed side. So again, identifying opportunities in brokerage or direct to mutual fund that could be better suited for advisory. So if I were to go in this non-managed single stock concentration, and we have a bunch of insights specific to those brokerage accounts, we're taking a look at non-managed accounts at a loss, underperforming products, or asset classes that would be considered on the riskier side from a brokerage perspective. And now I could go into any one of these clients and see what is their single stock concentration. If I were to click on this line item here, again, what is the account in question? What is the ticker symbol? This person loves Costco, 55% sitting in that particular security. But if I would want to maybe poke some holes in some of the diversification or lack thereof, I can click on this View Account 360, which populates on every single one of our non-managed insights. And just like on the Client 360, a printable scorecard that will look at their current asset allocation in that non-managed portfolio. So here you can see kind of what their exposure is. We'll estimate a risk profile based off of those holdings. And then what would be some potential changes in a managed account? So where are they overweight? Where are they underweight? And I think this does two things really well. One, it showcases the power of diversification, because you wouldn't imagine how many times I see 95% in large cap core and 2% in small cap, and then the rest held in cash. It could, again, highlight some of those accounts that maybe are not diversified as well as potentially they could be, to protect for some downside or to have some downside protection. But two, could also represent or identify clients that maybe are misrepresented in their estimated risk profile. So they're in aggressive growth, but that was maybe 15 years ago when they had more appetite for risk. Now they're a little bit older, they're more concerned with downside protection, with managed volatility. Let's get them into something that is more in line with their investment objectives moving forward. So a great tool to help with those types of conversion rates.
Andrew, I do want to add just one comment on this as you're
Sure.
going over non-managed, or what we refer to it as brokerage accounts. For those who are watching, if you would like to have these insights for your brokerage accounts, we need to ensure that we have these brokerage accounts flowing through on Envestnet to help you kind of address some of these concerns for your clients who are only on brokerage, and maybe you want to consider converting those over to advisory. So after the end of the call, please feel free to reach out to me to see how we can set that up. Andrew, I just wanted to put that out there.
No, it's great. A couple more things. So I mentioned that everything is interactive. I showed you how you could kind of complete and dismiss out insights. If you just want a grid broken down by client, you can go over to this insights grid, which will give you a list of all of the insights that are populating across your practice, but maybe I would want to look at it from a household perspective. So I could click on that grouping tab, group it in a grid view, and then it'll break it down by client name. So then I can see by client, what are the largest amount of insights in terms of number that are populating. So I mentioned, we're not here to overwhelm. You may have some clients that have 20 insights. You may have some clients that have 2. You can go in and obviously clean up some of those. So the first time that you log in, all of the insights that are being triggered will obviously be there. But as you go in, kind of meet with clients, you can complete some out, you can dismiss some out. Obviously, that insight number is going to get lesser and lesser, not as burdensome or cumbersome as you log in, but the first time that you log in, you may have 150. That's about the average that an advisor has in our platform. So it's not something that is overly overwhelming, but obviously as you go in and kind of complete or dismiss them out, it makes it more quote unquote manageable every single time you log in. We update the insights just like we do our platform on a weekly cadence. So if you would want to see the insights that generated since the last time you logged in, easy ways to do that by created date. And then if you wanted to go in and maybe adjust some of the settings. So there's insights that maybe are a nice to have, but not a need to have. If you go up to the blue bubble at the top right-hand side, you can go into insight settings, and then all of them will be toggled on, or the ones that are enabled. If there's ones that, again, are not a value add for your practice, I could simply deselect that and it removes it from my purview. We also, again, are all rules driven. So as long as it meets the thresholds, it'll populate within the site. But if you would want to go in and maybe change some of those parameters to something that is more applicable to how you view the business, this thresholds will allow you to, again, adjust some of those as to what triggers an insight. And then lastly is the ability to exclude ticker symbols. So if you build your own portfolios and you have Apple in all of your APM accounts, or Tesla or Berkshire, and you would want to maybe have them not included in the insights that are generated, you could put in those ticker symbols, and then it in real time will remove any of those insights specific to that ticker. So I always like to throw that caveat in there as well. Lastly, and Marcus gave me the green light that I could at least tease this, but we do have AI as built into this platform as well in a couple of different areas. The one that I want to focus is Insights AI, which we released about 2 months ago, where rather than hunting and pecking through all of those various different widgets, kind of clicking in the various different areas and which clients, what I can do is I can click on this Insights AI and think of it almost like ChatGPT. Either I can click on any one of these categories, or I could say, show me clients that have the largest amount of underperforming products. And what it'll do is it'll do the heavy lifting for you so that you can see which clients have the largest exposure in terms of market value and number of underperforming products. And then that could be your top 10 list as to who you would want to target, or if you want to target some of those brokerage accounts that maybe have concentrated positions or non-managed accounts that are at a loss. It'll let you know who those individuals are. So again, rather than hunting and pecking in real time, it gives me a list of clients. These are not actual names. This is based off of a census that we utilized for our test account. So don't be alarmed when there's actual names that populate here. But it'll let you know, hey, this client has 13 underperforming products across this many investment accounts. Here are the ticker symbols. Here are the market value. So again, puts more time in your day so that you can do what you do best. So always like to pinpoint those as well. This is the first iteration of AI built into our system. It's going to get smarter over time. If you would want to get very detailed in terms of your ask to the system, it's going to continue to develop and obviously get extremely granular with your book of business. So always like to go through that as well. I know that we have 8 or so minutes. I do like to usually leave time at the end. Plus, I know that there's something that Marcus wanted to go over. So at this point, I'll turn it back over to you, Marcus.
Yeah, Andrew, real quick, I see the financial planning tab there.
Yep.
I do just want to kind of mention if you guys are using Money Guide, there is an integration with the analytics platform that'll show you insights or analytics on your financial plan. So think of, hey, this client has a large purchase coming up. Maybe you want to reach out to see if they're still on the right track to purchase that large purchase, right? So think of things like, here are my, top plans by client. So here's my, high net worth clients who don't have a tax planning updated or estate planning updated, things like that. That kind of links with the analytics to Money Guide integration there. So Andrew has it pulled up here so you can dive into some of those same widgets that you saw on the Insights and Analytics platform there too.
Yeah, so that was a great segue because it allowed me to pivot over to another user that had financial planning data actually loaded. And the one that I was in, it queried no results. So this is an opportunity to go over, just like Marcus said, when you're building financial plans, what goals have been identified or lack thereof, what types of opportunities are there to meet a specific need, whether it's insurance, 529 plans, lending, or refinancing. So this will take a look at those financial plans that are built. And just like we do on the insights that I just showed, financial planning is a big part of that. So we built out financial planning in terms of an upcoming client event, a need in terms of a gap in insurance, long-term care, disability, upcoming large purchase. Can we find the proper financing rather than taking a large distribution from an investment account? So all of those have been linked and built into the insights as well. So if I were to go in a category and I would want to look at planning, again, planning, client event, and planning held away for those that aggregate accounts, potential opportunity to win additional wallet share there, but those insights fully live within our system as well, baked into one system. So very excited about that as well.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So I just want to show you guys where you can access this information. So let me share my screen here. There we go. So on your advisor portal login on Envestnet, if you locate your launch pad on your home screen, you should see something that's called Envestnet Intelligence. If you click into it, you should launch into your own version of the platform. Now, if you are having any issues pulling up any of your data, or if you see some rep codes that maybe not be associated to you, maybe is showing old rep codes or jointly rep codes that are no longer associated with you, please let me know. We can clean that up on the operational side there within the platform. But if there's any other questions for Andrew while we're on the call, Vanda, if you please will let me know. But if there's not, I'll give it a minute or so. Please follow up with any questions to me via email.
I don't see any questions come through at the moment.
Okay. And again, guys, so this platform is really as good as its data that's flowing through. So again, as I mentioned, if you would like for more of your brokerage accounts to flow through on the platform to get those insights on your brokerage assets, please feel free to reach out to Andrew. Is there anything else that you would kind of like point out that advisors are using this for exclusively? Is maybe dive into maybe the tax solutions there with the tax overlay. I think they get a tax 360 as well, something similar to the Client 360 report.
Yeah, so there's a tax vision report. So for the scorecards that I showcase, for anything that is tax overlay specific, if you are in the tax overlay insights, there's a tax vision report, which will showcase, hey, for this particular account, this is the realized long and short-term gains. We update that every single week. So you can see, okay, which accounts maybe would be a good opportunity to introduce tax overlay to increase some of that after-tax alpha. I mentioned at the very end of each year for those that have mutual fund cap gain distributions, again, the lowest of the low hanging fruit, maybe a client has a position that's held at a loss. They have a mutual fund cap gain distribution that's looming in X amount of days. Can that advisor then go to that individual client and say, hey, let's settle that position. Let's lock in some of those losses to offset previous or future gains, and we avoid a tax consequence. So there's a lot of insights specific to the tax management of investment portfolios that advisors will leverage. And then we have a tax overlay team within Envestnet that can, again, help with those types of conversations, introduce Pat's analysis to see, okay, here's what the tax savings could have been for this types of account. And then forward thinking, let's make tax management, a priority, and this is what benefit it could provide those clients. So the tax vision and the tax overlay insights have been extremely valuable, along with some of the other use cases that we went over.
Perfect. Well, Vanda, if there aren't any questions, I will just end the call here. And again, if anyone listening has any questions, feel free to follow up with me.